Hi LEGO fans! There have been a lot of very exciting new LEGO releases this year, not least the Harry Potter sets, but there's yet another set that's getting the Herbert family super excited. I'm super excited, the kids are super excited, and this little guy is beside himself. Today I'm going to be unboxing, speed building, and reviewing set number 75230 Porg from LEGO Star Wars. This is a UCS style buildable figure, and we've definitely seen a few of these before. There was set number 10018, the Darth Maul bust in 2001, 7194 Yoda in 2002, 10225 R2-D2 from 2012, and LEGO resurrected the theme last year with the buildable BB-8. So it's only fair that everybody's favourite space puffin, the Porg, gets his own UCS style build. Opinions are definitely divided on the inclusion of Porgs in the Last Jedi movie. Some see this as yet another marketing ploy, or the shameless introduction of a superfluous character to appeal to kids. Yes, we're looking at you, Jar Jar. I'm actually a really big fan of Porgs, and I'm super excited to build this one. The 811 piece part count includes the buildable Porg, and we also get a teeny tiny minifigure sized Porg who sits on the display stand. This is exactly the same character we got with the Ultimate Collector's Series Millennium Falcon and the Acto Island set. Flipping over to the back of the box, we would usually see all of the exciting play features of a LEGO set, but the Porg is mainly intended for display, so there's not a lot here to see. That being said, we do have a neat interactive feature built into Porg's tail which enables him to open and close his mouth. We also have an Ultimate Collector's Series style plaque, which I guess is probably not going to tell us very much about the Porg. We also get a look at the back of the Porg, which reveals some very intricate plumage. This actually looks pretty realistic. I honestly think that's about all I can say about the box art. So let's cut to the chase, open up the Porg's box, and see what we get inside. Here's everything that came inside the box. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 numbered bags of LEGO, a 142 page instruction booklet, and a black, white and blue sticker for the decorative fact plaque. I'm going to go ahead and build set number 75230 Porg, and today this is going to be a 90-second speed build. And here's the completed Porg. He is so cool. Your experience of course may differ. Every member of the family wanted to get involved in building this one, so you might notice different hands involved in the speed build. Build time for our little avian friend was 2 hours and 10 minutes, and it was quite a complicated build to put together. Referring back to the box, LEGO said this was suitable for 9 to 14-year-old builders. I've got to say, with the Technic mechanism in the centre, and all of the detail in the feathers which you'll see shortly, a 9-year-old who's not very experienced in building LEGO might find this quite frustrating. Although Porg doesn't look too complicated from the front, there's a crazy amount of detail in the plumage on the back, the wings, and on the head. You really have to pay attention to the instructions and pick out the right pieces to build this correctly. The first stage to building the Porg is to build the Technic Framework that sits within. This contains a mechanism that's connected to the Porg's tail. The mechanism makes the Porg's wings flap, And cooler still, it makes his mouth open and close. Once you've built the Technic frame, you're going to build the panel that makes up all of the detail on the back. Then in bag 3 we work on the detail on the chest. Bag 4 adds the white plumage on each side of the Porg, and bag 5 adds a pair of wings. According to Mrs H, these are really complicated to build and we gave her the hardest part of the job. And then in bag 6 we finally get to build the Porg's head and the decorative fact plaque. Porgs were not originally intended to be a character in the Last Jedi movie. They were born out of necessity. Luke Skywalker's retreat, the island of Acto, was partially filmed on location on Skellig Michael. That's an island off the coast of the Republic of Ireland, and it's covered in tiny seabirds called puffins. As puffins and other seabirds were everywhere, it was impractical to digitally remove them from the movie. So they invented Porgs to digitally superimpose over the top. Just like puffins, the Porg is a seabird and needs webbed feet to help it swim through the water. The Porg's webbed feet have 3 toes, each of which are individually articulated, and each is attached loosely to the base of the Porg. The front and sides of the Porg are covered in smooth white plumage. This looks really cool with loads of curved pieces used and minimal studs showing. I find it interesting that the designers left some studs showing on the front, but actually this gives it quite a nice pleasing textured feel. From the side you can start to see some of the texture in the feathers. There are some of these longer flight feathers on the edges of the wings, and I really like the splash of colour here on the wingtips with the orange and the grey-blue. I'd like to think this may indicate the gender of the Porg, but I'm really not sure. The Porg's head has kind of a vacant expression. I think he looks a little bit better with his mouth open. With the mouth open you can see the Porg's sharp teeth, and you can also see some of the mechanism that makes it all work. Although the large black eyes make the Porg look a little bit gormless, they do a pretty good job of recreating the character. In fact, they almost remind me of the soulless eyes you see on brickheads, which makes me wonder when we're going to see a Porg brickhead. By far my favourite thing about this Porg build is the amount of detail that went into the feathers. Even on the head we've got orange texturing on each side, and some really nice grey plumage on the back. The texture continues from the top of the head all the way down to the tail of the Porg. And this is greatly helped with these modified 2x2 pieces with the 3 prongs on. I'm not entirely certain, but I think those come from the Nexo Knights range. The Porg is very cleverly put together, and if you look very closely you can just see the pins that are holding on the wings. I do feel kind of sorry for the Porg because the head is locked into that position and you can't move it. He's constantly looking up into the sky in a perpetual state of fear. Just like puffins, the Porg has a rather stubby tail. One thing's for sure though, the designers have done a really nice job of integrating the mechanism. If you didn't know that was there, you would just think it was the Porg's tail. And even in places where you don't normally see, like these feathers here underneath the tail, you've got some really nice attention to detail. The bottom is also nice and flat, and that helps Porg stand straight and strong. He's not going to fall over very easily. Although the part count is quite a bit smaller, Porg clearly follows in the footprints of last year's buildable BB-8. I was expecting Porg to be a couple of inches shorter, but in reality apart from the antenna, he's about the same size as BB-8, so these are going to look great on display next to each other. As promised on the box, we do have one of these decorative fact plaques. There's also one of the small scale Porg characters that we get in other sets. I wouldn't say this is to minifigure scale, but he's quite a bit smaller than the average minifigure. The fact plaque itself is pretty much as expected. These work really well for complicated machinery, but less so for organic life forms. Here we learn lots of stuff we already know about the Porgs. They live on Acto, which is full of coastal cliffs. Just like a puffin, they've got webbed feet, waterproof feathers, and a natural sense of curiosity. They eat small fish, and Porgs come in a variety of different colours. We've got grey, white, brown, and orange variants. So that was set number 75230 Porg from LEGO Star Wars. So what do you think to the LEGO Porg, Phil? Okay, so Phil's not very impressed, but I really like this little guy. I think this is a kind of LEGO model you either love or you hate. If you're a fan of the Porgs, then you're probably going to like this. But a lot of Star Wars fans don't like what Disney's doing to the movies, and I can see why this little LEGO Porg would come under fire. As a technical LEGO build, the Porg is very sturdy, and although the interactive function might not be the best thing in the world, it's actually pretty well put together. But for me, by far my favourite aspect of this build is the amount of detail. The feathers are absolutely gorgeous. This is a great example of how to produce textured art in LEGO through layering. And all things considered, the Porg is just a really fun build. So what about value for money? From a purely price to part ratio, it's probably a little bit top heavy. But considering the individuality of the build and the amount of detail that went into the design, I'm actually pretty pleased with the value for money I got here. In conclusion, I think this buildable Porg came out really well. I'm very pleased to own this little guy, and he shall forevermore be known as Phil the Porg, because Phil is a fine name for a Porg. Whether or not you're a fan of the buildable Porg, I do hope you enjoyed this LEGO Star Wars unboxing, speed build and review video. If you did, please don't forget to drop a like, tell us what you think of the Porg in the comment section, and don't forget to subscribe for more awesome LEGO content. Thanks a million for checking out today's review, stay safe, and may the Force be with you!